Absolutely. There were I think 3 or 4 emails that I got anyway, that were not, wanting to know about the courthouse and, why we did this. And I explained a couple of things to everyone I responded to them. What I tried to gauge before I responded to somebody is what their level of understanding was. Did you ever use the courthouse? Because for most people, they don't visit the courthouse unless they're a plaintiff, a defendant, or they're called for jury duty.
Right.
And
nothing pleasant.
No, yeah, exactly, Gary. That's the point. It's nothing pleasant. And so, I would ask questions like, when was the last time you visited the courthouse? Have you ever been called for jury duty? Are you aware of the following issues, which the paper has written about, the flooding, those kinds of things. And the majority of people, and there weren't a lot of negative ones, there were maybe 3 or 4, there were hundreds that were positive, ranging from people who'd been there on jury duty, who said, I couldn't believe the condition that the building was in, and I have jokingly said, I'm sorry, when I was going in the courthouse on motion calendar, and only 2 of the 4 elevators were working, I didn't say to all the people who were complaining, I'm not going to use the other word, who were complaining because only 2 elevators, can I please tape record you so you can tell everybody what you think about having elevators this old that they don't make the parts anymore? And when I asked them that, the vast majority of people were not people who had ever been to the courthouse, had no idea, hadn't read the paper, didn't know the story. And so,
You didn't get a lot of stuff from people saying, hey, we voted this down.
Yeah, I got, in the people who voted no, there were people who said we voted it down. And there is a misunderstanding on the part of the public. Voter debt is above the millage. We have a 10 mil cap. When we do voter debt, it's above the 10 mils. And if you look at your Broward County tax bill, you'll see there's the regular millage and then there's the voter approved debt. When you do non-voter approved debt, it's within the 10 mil cap. So it's actually a further cap on our ability to raise taxes. And a few of the people, when I explained that, said, wow, I didn't know that. I'm really glad that it's inside the cap, not above the cap. Obviously, you're never going to make 100% of the people happy. Unfortunately, when they built that portion of the courthouse, they didn't build it to be a century building. They were looking to see how inexpensively could they get the building built. The curtain wall, because originally I thought we could renovate until I looked at the renovation numbers, and it's actually cheaper to use the site of the judicial parking garage and build it on our land than to try and renovate that building. The other thing that I've explained to people is, unlike what previous commissions have done, the Courthouse Task Force, which I chaired, I do the short story again, actually did a master plan. And so what we looked at is we're really moving toward a judicial complex. This community will likely continue to grow, and we wanted to make sure that we had put in place space reservations as we need additional facilities, as we need parking, or, I believe it probably won't be in my lifetime. It probably might be in Scott's, he's young, it could be Brittany's maybe.
Mine.
Definitely yours.
Scott's older than I am.
Definitely yours. There'll probably be the need for another tower. And so that's why we're doing the plaza in between the 2 buildings right now. When we demolish it, we're not putting anything there. So there's this whole master plan of how it will function as a judicial building. And there are plenty of things I've explained to people they never vote on. For example, we collect almost $900 million worth of property taxes each year. You don't get to vote on that, how we spend that. And that's 3 times more than we're asking to spend to build the courthouse. The neighborhood improvement programs, which have ranged from $200 million to $300 million, were never voted on by the public. And they were multi-year projects where we went in and we put in water lines, sewer lines, sidewalks. There's been no referendum on whether we should have a south runway, something you guys have supported. There's plenty of stuff that just doesn't get voted on. And this is one of those things where when you look at all of the circumstances, it's interesting because it would be a 9-0 vote on the board that we need a new courthouse. There's no discussion about whether or not there needs to be, there's no dispute. The only issue is, should we have a referendum? And then you go to the next issue, which is both the interim finance director, Melissa Heller, and the FA, the financial advisor for it, said you don't want to wait for a referendum because the rates are so low right now that he believes we would actually get a better price now than if you wait for a referendum, which you couldn't have till August at the earliest.
And we're going down in flames anyway.
So, I don't know. People are in a very anti-tax mood generally. I think if you put something on, this community, I used to brag about Most communities have more McDonald's than libraries. We have more food for the mind because our voters did our library bond issue. I'm not sure that would pass today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we leave, when would you like to talk to